Hey, what is going on? This is Mike Clark, Keys of Knowledge. I'm very, very excited about our new guest is coming on. This is a mortgage brokerage, so we're going to go into the difference between mortgage brokerage, mortgage company, and then we're also going to talk about one, his bio, of course. Get to know Mr. John Wang, but then we're also going to learn about some new loan products, maybe new to most. So I definitely want to speak about that. And then, we're just going to take the conversation from there. This is a live episode, so if anyone has any questions during the live stream, of course, jump right in. But let me go ahead and welcome Mr. John Wang. How you doing, man?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I appreciate you coming on. I know we changed the time, so I appreciate you coming on early in the morning.
No worries. They say the early bird catches the worm, right? So definitely that. And I have my coffee right here too. So we're good.
Oh yeah. So I want to start off, John, with just your quick bio. Let us know a little bit about you.
So, I always like saying I'm kind of like a re-transplant to El Paso because I'm really an El Paso native, but I left for college and then I came back and, really enjoyed, coming back to this really large city now. It used to be much, much smaller back in 1999 when I left, and now it's grown by leaps and bounds. I kind of mentioned that my background, having been an El Paso native, right, is that my grandmother used to take us shopping downtown, and we would go to the Popular or to the White House or, some of the other stores, right? I even remember, like going to Leo's and getting my number 15 tostada, or even like, I don't know, Chico's on Montana, for those of us that, remember Chico's on Montana. And even like Bowie Bakery. Yeah, so with my grandpa, so we got to go ahead and really experience El Paso. Or there was this place called Ben's Tacos in the Segundo Barrio, and oh man, they had these really cool tacos. But my family's been here for a really long time, just like everyone else. And El Paso's really a city of immigrants, and it really is a kind of a shining star to say to the world and to the United States to see our mix of people here. My dad was from China, and so I'm Chinese and I'm Hispanic, and my grandmother's side maternally was Palestinian. So I'm kind of a massive mix of everything, but El Paso is that city of immigrants. Really, truly is. So
no, I'm sorry.
You're fine. No, you're fine. Yeah. So my mom was even a nurse in at La Fe in the Segundo Barrio. Bien Vivid, for those of you that know, it's a senior care facility. And then she even finished up her 52 years in nursing in the SRP in Fort Bliss. So we a lot of history and a lot of connections, and very thankful to be back.
No, that's excellent. I appreciate you sharing your bio, and I really like that about you. When I got to, of course, when I got to meet you and talk more about you and get to learn about you, that's one thing I've learned is diversity. You've been all over. You've been a El Paso native, of course, and that brings a lot of knowledge to the El Paso market. Of course, like you said, you're from El Paso. You were raised here, and then you left, but you came back, and that's one thing that sets you apart from many other loan officers. Of course, you know the area pretty well. You have history here. You've been there, done that. I want to kind of blend that into how did you get into mortgage lending, and then also if you can add into private lending as well, because
of course,
most people might see the logo and they assume what it is. But could you speak briefly about that as well?
Of course. So, my background when I went to school when I went to college, I went to school to become an architect, and I really love the idea of building something and helping people, and something that you have to interact with daily, right? It recharges you, in my mind. And so what I did for a long time is I followed that degree path and career path, and then I kind of branched off into different things, everything from like, retail to cabinetry to manufacturer representation in the building industry. I liked it a lot, but I wanted to go into something felt missing, and I wanted to get back to my roots. And so that's where we decided to come back to El Paso. And then I kind of, waited a little while, and then I finally decided, okay, I want to get into mortgage lending. It really is something, helping people from the ground up, right? Because before you can go and look at houses, I mean, granted, you can look at houses, but you should really have a plan ahead of time. How much can you afford? How much can you, what are the interest rates? What's your monthly payment going to look like? What's your DTI? All those things that are really necessary for anybody that's wanting to buy a home. They kind of need to know that background information. And I realized I loved explaining things to people and helping people through the process. So at that point, I said, let me go ahead and go into mortgage lending. And I did that. And I was working for, one of those big box phone call center, work at home type situations. And I was talking to people from over 9 different states, constantly. But I kept on talking to a lot of people in Texas, and Texas has some really unique laws when it comes to mortgages. And at that point, because of those laws, a lot of people weren't being able to be qualified. So at that point, then it hurt me because I wasn't able to help the people I wanted to help. And so I decided I'm leaving that company and I'm finding more a boutique type mortgage company. And this is where, serendipitously, I looked on LinkedIn, and the very first one that popped up was Pride Lending. And I read their mission statement, followed by talking to the owner, who lives in Las Vegas. So he kind of lives in the desert like all of us. And Andrew's really awesome. And, what Pride Lending does is that not only do they serve, the LGBTQ community, right? But their main thing is to help those that have been disenfranchised or marginalized in society. So when I think of that, I kind of thought back to the day when my mom was working in the Segundo Barrio as a nurse, and the fact that she was helping people that that really needed her help. And I kind of saw this as the same type of situation, so I took it upon myself to apply, to move forward with them, and kind of just work that way. So Pride Lending is really beautiful in the sense that, yes, they're there for everybody, but they also want to lift up those that have been in the past been trampled upon or have been overlooked. So Pride Lending exemplifies really what lending should be like for everybody. So that's the reason why I really loved it. It was for mi gente, for my people, right? But when I say for my people, really for everyone that has had these feelings, that have had these worries in life, or have had these feelings, it is for everyone to really to get uplifted and get into the home, into their into their future. So that's why I really love Pride Lending.
Absolutely. I read the mission statement and immediately I was like, this is beautiful, because like you said, a lot of people have been unheard, haven't been able to be exposed to certain home opportunities. And I love that you educate. That's the biggest piece with this. Like, I love to educate as well. And so
Yes.
So that's one of the biggest things here. And, so hopefully someone gains some value from this and says, hey, John Wang is setting himself apart from other mortgage brokerages and mortgage loan officers. And so I want to jump right into it. And I want to ask you first, what is the difference between a mortgage brokerage and a mortgage company?
That's a very good question. So, I think a lot of times when people think about like mortgages, right? It's this, you know, businessman in a suit, and he's somewhere in some office in some tall building, and that could be definitely the case, right? And that is typically what we think of as a mortgage company, right? Mortgage companies are essentially the lenders. They're the ones that lend out the money to everybody, right? They make their money by charging interest and fees, right? And they move forward that way. A mortgage brokerage is much more like, essentially, kind of like what a real estate agent is, right? They're, much more personable person. They go and they look at all the fields, and they see what works best, right? And that's what we do, is that we look at every type of different lender that we have. And I mentioned before, we have roughly about 25 plus different lenders that we talk to. And the reason why it's only like 25 and not like 105 or 150, right, is you have to think of it this way. Every lender has minimal has about 3 to 4 different types, if not more, loan programs. So when you have that many different loan programs, it really goes out beyond that. So if you think 25 times 3, that's 75, or times 4, that's 100 different type of loan options there. And we do the shopping for the customer so that the customer doesn't have to try whittle down and see which loan is the best loan for them. Because sometimes some of these loans look all kind of the same, but then when you read the fine print, or when you know what to look for, you'll be like, no, this is actually a much better choice. Like, for example, prepayment penalties. Some loans have prepayment penalties, some don't. And if you don't have a prepayment penalty, that means that you could pay off your loan faster and save so much more money on interest.
No, absolutely. And what I hear is you're the subject matter expert. So when they're coming to you, they're not just getting a one-size-fit-all sort of policy or mortgage. You're able to take their information and say, look, this loan product from this company applies more to you versus this other client might fit over here. So exactly. I love that. Yeah, yes. And I love that, because now you're not trying to fit inside of this one little box, trying to get into this criteria. You have many options.
Yep. And a lot of folks also don't realize this, but part of the reason why they don't move forward with multiple lenders or investigate multiple lenders is because they get their credit hit once, right? And then they think, oh, they're going to be hit so many different times, right? With us, because we do a soft pull first, right? We can kind of see where you're at, number one, with credit, give you advice upon that, because we have a certified credit guy on our team. But we're able to go ahead and see that, and then we're able to see everything else that you will go ahead and fall into, and then tell you what the best options are. And with looking at just 25 different plus vendors or lenders, we're then able to tell you this is going to be the best option for you, and this is why.
Exactly. No, I appreciate that. That makes total sense. And if anyone's listening, that's something that you want. When I first started investing, trying to find a property or find a home, I immediately thought I need to find a mortgage company. I need to find my bank. But to know there's options, and I'm a guy that loves options. This is something you want to look into. And so I want to pivot into the first time home buyer program. Can you talk a little bit about that? Down payment, going into the details of that type of program.
Absolutely. So, again, we have different vendors or different lenders, right? And so those lenders will give us, different first-time homeowner options, right? Some of them are offered by city, some of them are offered by county, some of them are offered by state, and some of them are offered by lender. For example, here in El Paso, there's, the city first-time homeowners grants, right? And some of those grants, are absolutely awesome. Some people won't fall into into the criteria that you need on them, right? So that's where, someone like me works out well, because I can see where you stand and what program you fit into the best. But one of the biggest ones that right now, and I went through some training on this recently, and one of the big ones I really, really enjoyed, and I thought this works wonderful for El Paso, is this one program where essentially you get what's called DPA, which is down payment assistance, right? Up to 3.5%, which is a required down payment for an FHA loan. Okay. And based off of that, then you get up to $13,000 in DPA, so down payment assistance that you don't have to pay back. $13,000. So if you happen to have a house that's easily, $300,000, you're going to easily, be good with that. And that's the cool thing about that, because at that moment, at that time, you're like, okay, I'm now able to get into a house with basically no money whatsoever. I have the credit score. It is FHA, which is Federal Housing Administration, right? That's backing the loan. So I can get into that loan. I can get into that house. I don't have to pay back the down payment assistance. But the cool thing about this loan and this program is that you can borrow up to 120% of the value of the loan. So that, or purchase price. So that being said, if it's, we'll just say 100,000 for ease of math, right? At 100,000, you can actually borrow 120. 20% of that is placed into escrow holdback. And what that means is that escrow holdback lets you then pay for this next part of the loan, which is solar panels, right? And these solar panels will be continuously giving you energy, right? And they will lower your monthly home bill, especially if you have refrigerated air, right? So you're going to be saving money in the long run, and those savings can last for, decades, and you're saving so much money. The first year on that, because of administration and the new legislation that they passed, you can still take advantage of that solar up to 30% of what you paid to it on the tax credit. So now you're getting down payment money, right? You're getting your solar because now you're able to go ahead and incorporate it to your first mortgage. And then now you're also getting 30% on your income taxes of what you paid into it as a credit. So it's a win-win-win situation. And the last one, you are paying so much less for your electricity. So why not do it? If you're buying a house and you're a first-time homeowner, do this program. It will save you tons of money. And so it makes perfect sense.
And you know what? I want to add to that, John, because I go to a lot of city meetings, and if you're in El Paso, understand that the El Paso Electric Company, they're debating how much more they're going to raise. I don't know if it's a particular tax or add-on, but there's going to be fees attached to your electric. So this helps.
Yeah.
Solar panels. This definitely helps. And so, John, I want to go into, so for that first-time home buyer, say you truly understand it, could you give a real-world example? A new married couple, partnerships, whoever. How would this work in the real world? Where, hey, I come to you and you're offering this loan.
Of course. So, like I said, first thing what we do is that you come to me and I do an application, right? And actually the application you can easily find if you go to pridelending.com, you can go ahead and apply right there. And if you can go onto the left-hand side, it says meet the team. I'm at the very bottom right there. Go ahead and click me, put apply. You apply online, or you can apply in person with me. I will come to you, or we can do this virtually like what we're doing right now. And we'll talk about what your goals are, right? If you, Michael, are coming to tell me, hey, John, I want to buy a home here in El Paso for $200,000. That's very doable still here in El Paso, right? So you could go ahead and say, I want to buy a home here in El Paso, $200,000. What do I need? Well, under FHA, right, it's 3.5%. So that's $7,000 that you would need as a down payment, right? Now, with this program, you would get that $7,000 because it's up to 13, provided that it's a 3.5% of the purchase price, right, or the listing price. So if that is 200,000, that's going to be $7,000 that you're going to get that you don't have to pay back. Okay, you do have to do a class, right? And that's kind of the case with all these, down payment assistance programs, right? You take a little class, really quick, really easy to do, right? And then once you get that class finished, then you have the ability to go ahead and to get that $7,000, right? You get that money, right? We of course already have you pre-approved on our side, where we've done the soft credit pool. We've essentially matched you up to a lender that's going to work out best for you. And then you talk to someone like Michael, who's your real estate guy. He finds a house for you guys. And then at that point in time, you put in an offer, right? And if the offer is accepted, then we start going more towards closing. And with us, like I said, because of the fact that we can do the 120%, right, of the sales price, right, at that point, then 120,000, or sorry, 200,000, right, at 120%, that's $40,000 that you could use towards a solar panel system. And we'll hold that 40,000 aside, right, in escrow, right? And then that way the solar company can go out there and see, about doing your solar panels. For example, let's say it's determined that your electrical system or your roof needs to be updated before they do the solar, right? And you think, man, that's going to be money out of my pocket. That's part of the reason why you have the 20% in holdback. So that money is in holdback, right? And at that moment, at that time, if it happens to be something where, hey, I need to get the roof done, part of that money can go ahead or be used to address that, or to address the electrical, right? So now you have peace of mind of having the roof done, and then having the electrical done, and then being able to use the rest of the money for solar, right? And so now, as a new homeowner, you have your new roof, you have your new electrical, now you have solar, right? And there you go. You go ahead and my monthly bill, my electric bill here is like about 100 and, I just got refrigerated air, so it's like going to be probably about maybe $200, I'm thinking. But imagine if my electric bill year or month over month, right, is maybe $50, right? I'd be saving myself $150 per month just by having those solar up there. And the best thing about this thing is that the solar panels are yours. They're not leased. If you sell your house, you don't have to go through a second company because it's a second loan or anything else like that. It is all yours. So in theory, if you wanted to, you could take them off and take them with you. Although I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. But I was just going to highlight that once you have finished up is, from a realtor perspective, when you talk to a seller, that's one of the biggest things. Do you own the solar panels? Like, yeah, it's a highlight. Yeah, you might believe it adds value to the property, but if you don't have them paid off, or you're in some crazy lease, then that might hinder the sale. But this is a beautiful program right here. Not to mention the down payment assistance, all these great things.
No, not only that, but on my side, where I did a lot of refinancing or cash outs, right? If you happen to have a solar, loan, right, to say, or lease, that actually kind of complicates things a little bit, right? It's not too much, but it does require a little bit extra time. So at this point, you own it. It's part of the very first mortgage, right? It is yours. Just like if you were to put in a swimming pool, and it is your pool, you own it. there you go. It's easy peasy, and you don't have to worry about anything else, any strings attached in that sense.
I really appreciate you, John, talking about this program.
Absolutely.
A lot of my listeners, a lot of people that I talk to on a daily, they're like, can I afford a home? Just a lot of misinformation. So they always believe they have to use conventional, where that's a 20% down payment. So they immediately believe that's just, in their mind, of course, it's a lot,
Yeah.
So this is a beautiful program to talk about, explain, and let people know that there's so many different options out there to gain home ownership, that the only thing that's preventing you from getting that home ownership is picking up the phone, researching.
Absolutely. I will tell you this one last thing. I have had customers that we have been working with for 6 months, a year, right? Because we look at what their credit is, or we look at where they're at, whether it be, I'm not ready yet, right? But I want to be ready. And that's the best, perspective. I want to be ready. So when I find that house, I'm ready and I can say yes. There was another realtor recently on Facebook that, addressed a population and said, hey, you guys need to realize that you need to get pre-approved ahead of time, because it's like going and saying, hey, I want a car, but I don't have the financing for it. You can have them handle it for you, or you could go ahead and preemptively go and talk to your bank, or talk to a broker like me, and we can get that financing in place for you guys ahead of time. So absolutely, always be well informed, people.
Yeah, be well informed, and like I said, that's the biggest piece. And I'll go back to the car example. You go to a car lot, of course they're going to give you in-house financing. That in-house financing might not be the best for you, but you research and finding subject matter experts like John, reaching out to different institutions. This is what's going to give you the best bang for your buck, because now you're shopping around and actually finding out who is actually the best option for you. In addition to, understanding that you do need to be ready. I would say El Paso market compared to others is undervalued, to be honest, because Austin, Dallas, of course, all these places are very expensive to buy in. This is not, you know what I'm saying? So this is not a time to buy. This is not a time to buy, because if you wait too long, I really believe this in my heart, and I hate to say it because I love El Paso and I love the El Pasoans and people who've been here for a while, but you don't want to be priced out the market.
Exactly. I fully, we're kind of stuck in a weird situation where, number one, our local rate of pay is less, right, folks? It is less than San Antonio, than Dallas and Houston, right? It is, but our cost of living has historically always been less. When I moved away from El Paso, you could buy a house over here for $75,000 easily, right? After COVID, housing went outrageously out through the roof, right? And because of that, housing has gone ahead and gone up, but our paychecks haven't. So we have to be cautious about taxes. We have to be cautious about where we're going to go and buy our groceries from, all those different things, because we need to make sure that we have money there. The truth is that if you decide to wait to buy a house, you're actually stealing from yourself, because we know that property is going to be increasing it, continuously, right? You think, I'm going to buy a house over here as opposed to right here. And what's happened is that this has gone up in price so much that even if you were to put all of your salary into savings, you would not make up that difference. It's so difficult. So if you're looking, like Michael said, right now, El Paso still hasn't caught up completely. It is going up in property values, which is kind of a good thing. But at the same point in time, being from El Paso, you need to go ahead and take advantage of it now, because you won't be able to save the amount that you want to save to put for a down payment, right? Or a perceived down payment. And then you would go ahead and you would lose out. So mi gente, por favor. Óyenos, hear us out. We definitely are here to help you guys out. I obviously speak Spanish not that well, but I can definitely make myself known. But we're here to help, and that's the beauty of it, is that we're here to help because we believe in what we do, and we believe that we all can become stronger and homeowners and give our families a brighter future by having that home that you're not paying rent into.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I want to wrap up at this point. And you hit it not too long ago. You actually hit it. But I want you to tell me, for the young listeners that's listening, the people that's going to watch eventually on social media and everywhere else, can they actually afford a home in today's market? Can they afford a home?
Absolutely. So let's just say this: you have an apartment with your friends, best friends from college, right? There's maybe 2 of you guys, maybe 3 of you guys, right? Can you guys go ahead and buy a house? Yes. You can have joint tenants in common, right, and ownership, and between 3 people, y'all can go ahead and buy a house, right? Between 2 people, you could buy a house, right? You don't have to be married, right? You could be friends, and so long as they're predefined, thoughts in mind, you can do that, right? And then later on, sell or have someone buy off the remaining interest on the property, or sell, like I said, in the future when home values are going to be even higher than they are right now. But you could do that. You can also do the down payment assistance, and I would definitely say the down payment assistance right now is key. That's grants that you never have to pay back. Go FHA and you're golden.
No, absolutely. So anyone listening, if you're just getting out of EPCC, you're getting out of UTEP, you're getting out of high school, but you need to make a plan. What it sounds like John is saying is just be creative. Don't sit there and say, well, I can't afford a home. My parents were the only ones who could afford a home. You just got to get creative. You got to think outside the box, and then also use programs such as what John is explaining to you guys. Talk to a mortgage brokerage. Private lending is one. Use that as a resource to learn about your options. Even if you feel like you're not ready, just like John said, get ready by speaking to a subject matter expert. And I always bring it to this, John, is like people always avoid, if they're sick or they're feeling a certain way, they avoid going to the doctor because they don't want to know what they need to do.
Yep.
But this is the exact same thing. Like, I understand one of the biggest hurdles a lot of people are dealing with is their credit, soft pulls, all these things. But you need a roadmap. You need someone to talk to. You need someone to guide you and give you the best options. And I believe private lending, John, is the way to go. So I want to wrap it up with this, John. Can you drop us one message you want every listener to hear from you today or walk away from this interview today?
Yes. So the biggest maker of millionaires in this country, okay, is not digital, is not social media, although I love social media, is not it's not business owners, things like that. It's real estate. People buy their very first home. Their biggest investment is their home. You save so much money by buying a home, right? And you can use that in the future to buy other homes, to start a business, because you will have equity that has been built up that you have not paid to a landlord, and that equity belongs to you. So put the money in your pocketbook, talk to a broker, that way you get a full spectrum of offers that you can go ahead and use and which one works best for you. And then talk to a real estate agent, someone like Michael, who will help you hold your hand and get you into the home that you need, whether this home be for a 5-year time period, a 10-year time period, or you're going to hold it and use it forever. or buy another house there afterwards. Get yourself into a home, because the only disservice that you're doing by not getting yourself a home is a disservice to yourself. You need to go ahead and look to your future. And by doing so, you could do so with buying the house.
No, absolutely. No, I appreciate it. That's the best way to cap it off. So people definitely understand what John is saying. I get it. If you want to wait, but in the meantime, do the work while you're waiting. Don't just wait for no reason. And then when you find an opportunity, now you're trying to get ready. In the meantime, somebody else is already ready, and then boom, the house is going. That's how quick homes are coming off the market, especially if they're priced aggressively. So be ready. I want to go ahead and say for our audience, reach out to John at pridelending.com. Call 512-945-9369. Speak to John. Schedule an appointment. Sit down with him today. I wouldn't even say sit down with him a week from now. Sit down with him today. You should have did it yesterday. So reach out to him. Also,
give me a call.
Give him a call. His email is jwang, JWANG at pridelending.com. Don't miss out working with someone who's not just about numbers, about people, So definitely don't hesitate. I appreciate it again, John. Thank you so much for coming on. And
thank you, Michael, and thank you for everyone for listening today.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. I'll talk to you later. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.